Living biorobots in 1986 were the soldiers who cleared the most contaminated areas after the Chernobyl accident. About 5,000 such liquidators were forced to work in hellish conditions. Before you watch this video, I'm going to ask you to support my channel with a thumbs up. It won't cost you anything, but it means a lot to me and my channel. Thank you. They climbed to the roof between the third and fourth emergency power units, where radiation reached unthinkable levels. Even equipment, Soviet or foreign, could not withstand the monstrous radiation and malfunctioned. After the Chernobyl accident, many countries said they were ready to help. The Germans, for example, asked the Soviet leadership for information on actual radiation doses to understand under what conditions their equipment would have to work. However, for reasons of secrecy, no one gave them real figures, so the German robot Joker, which was sent to Chernobyl to help with decontamination, failed in just a few minutes. Other robotics also burned out before 5 minutes had passed. Once in the contaminated zone, the batteries died and the electronics burned out. Then Boris Yevdokimovich Skrbina, the head of the government commission, decided to involve, as he put it, living biorobots in the dangerous work. They were the soldiers, conscripts and volunteers, whose main task was to clear the roof of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant from the radioactive debris. Each liquidator worked for about 40 seconds and went on the roof only once. During this time, he received the kind of radiation exposure that a normal person receives in a lifetime. But real radiation doses were often simply written off. Professor Georgy Lepin recalled, after returning from the roof, the soldiers turned in their dosimeters, and the major inserted them into the device, which showed how much they had gained. Everything was off the scale, but the major wrote in the log, 24.5. 25 was the limit. The soldiers there were disenfranchised. Probably not by accident, they sent there a lot of guys from Central Asia, who had never even heard of nuclear power plants. So they were not afraid. They were told to go and do something, they went. Soldiers were equipped with protective equipment, totaling up to 50 kilograms. These were heavy coats of lead and rubber, lead underwear, several pairs of rubber mittens, heavy rubber boots and special glasses. According to one liquidator's recollection, going to the roof was like going into outer space. How could it be? Or did we come from the Stone Age to hastily assemble lead sheets and hastily cut out shields for people's critical organs? It was an incredibly difficult job. Besides, it was a hot summer. When you took your first steps on the roof, it felt like you were on another planet. It was very stuffy, and the high radiation levels smelled like nitrogen. There was silence. There was a distinct taste of lead and sourness in my mouth. My eyes were stinging and my throat was instantly dry. There were many pieces of radioactive graphite, uranium and debris scattered around, which had been ejected in the reactor explosion. Another liquidator, Nikolai G. Kostuk, recalls how he had to go to the roof a second time as punishment for missing a lecture. Nikolai Grigorievich recounts the following: I quarreled with a company man over a trifle, I had to be on duty in the kitchen, arrived from the station, lay down to rest. And he planned to read a lecture there. I didn't go, and he yelled, so I sent him away, and he sent me to the roof. I said I wouldn't go. And he said to me, then I'll write a report that you refused to carry out the order. They wouldn't put me in jail, but there would be a lot of problems at work. And I had a family, children. I would have messed up their lives. So I went, I dropped a piece of debris, and when I ran back, my eyes went black. I lost consciousness. I came to in the nurse's station. My blood pressure was measured. I heard, as in a fog, the doctor say, okay, he is starting to come to his senses. The pressure went up, it was 60/40. Many liquidator soldiers did not know what radiation was and did not understand the whole danger of the situation. Eyewitnesses to the events recall how some took off their respirators, ripped up cherries in their front gardens, and ate them. When they were told that it was dangerous, they shrugged it off, saying, it rained yesterday and washed it all away. Unfortunately, precipitation only increases the radiation background. There was one case when a particularly curious soldier wanted to arrange an excursion and see for himself the shelter that was being built over Unit 4. Miraculously, he was detained by radiation surveyors in an armored personnel carrier and taken to a safe place. Eyewitnesses of the events recall many ridiculous orders and actions of the commanders. Regimental commanders often determine locations for the burial grounds spontaneously, without consulting hydrotechnicians or other specialists. A pit was dug about 200 by 100 meters, 2 meters deep. Everything that needed to be buried was placed there. The liquidators would smash particularly large objects with their sledgehammers. As the pit was filled with waste, it was covered with earth and a new one was dug. As a rule, the location of radioactive burial grounds was not marked on maps. Those arriving from the reserve were ordered to wash the floor in the huge turbine halls or to lay linoleum in the huge corridors of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. This way it was believed that it would be easier to wash off the radioactive dust from the linoleum. People understood the absurdity of these orders and often voiced their dissatisfaction aloud. Did I come here to mop floors or lay linoleum? Is that going to save anyone? A mobilized physics teacher who watched soldiers pour a decontamination solution on a house's slate said the following: "What good does it do to drain the dust off the roof into the yard? For the weeds to grow succulent?" Yes, the late Frederick Joliot-Curie is just laughing at us in his grave. According to experts, the total number of people who received high doses of radiation reaches more than 600,000 people. In addition to the liquidators, these are the displaced residents of the 30-kilometer exclusion zone. I thank you for watching. Your support is very important to me. Your comments and thumbs up motivate me to release new videos on interesting topics. Subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the new videos.